Hi, everybody. I'm Alice Shaw.
I'm Lisa Z.
Welcome. Today, we're going to look at essence and personality. Essence is something that you're born with. It is true to yourself. It is your own. Personality is an overlay on top of that essence.
Chew on that. You are not your personality. Personality is not your own. It's everything you've learned through education, family programming, and oftentimes mimicking an imitation that you're unaware of. Some like to say that most of society is operating on 100% personality with the exclusion of their true essence.
Yeah, right now. So generally, people who live in the country, they live on more essence than personality, and people who live in the city live on more personality than essence. And sometimes we have too much personality, or sometimes we have too much essence, and it becomes imbalanced.
Yeah, there's philosophers that believe that we should have an equal proportion or close to equal proportion of both personality and essence. And then there's other belief systems that think that we should be 100% essence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very few of us develop essence and personality simultaneously. Those are the lucky ones. Some say that we lose our essence at about 5 or 6. And other people like Lisa think that it starts even sooner in preschool when education starts.
Well, I may have a biased opinion on this because I feel like I lost my essence, or my essence started getting knocked out of me around 4 years old. I also believe because children enter daycare now, that influence pushes essence out earlier, just because it's programming. I constantly go back to a story about revisiting where I lost my essence. And it's in early childhood. I was about 4 was the last memories I had of this time where I just loved running around naked, particularly running around naked in the rain. It was my favorite thing. At the time, my parents we lived in a townhouse community, so I could just run down a whole row of homes and knock on doors. So when I was out there playing in the rain, without a doubt, I wanted everybody to experience what I was experiencing. So I would knock on all the doors and introduce my little naked self as, "Hi, I'm the nature child. Want to come out and play?" Of course, I ended up inside many homes eating cookies or having soup, and my mother was called. But that was the beginning of what I remember to be the dismissal of my essence. Just the fact that I was named the nature child was the beginning of that. So I identified myself as the nature child. "Hi, I'm the nature child. Want to come out and play?" My mom was a lady, and my dad didn't get his hands dirty. So I clearly was a creature from beyond that they didn't know what to do with. I just really wanted to play and be dirty all the time. We had a pond near the house. I'd play with the salamanders and get all muddy, and my mother wore high heel shoes. So this story is important because throughout my whole childhood, my true essence was squashed. And I'm sure this has happened to many of you. I'm sure there's many who are watching right now who will identify with this story, that as a result, I felt like I was not seen, or I could not be me. And when I was, a teenager, I went through many iterations of rebellion. And one of the first was, the combat boots and kind of pink hair. And I was like, "Hey, you're not going to let her show up. This is what you're getting."
So in the process of learning to be clairvoyant at Psychic Horizons on Valencia Street in San Francisco, shout out to them always.
Always.
To strip away at our personality. And it wasn't what they were teaching us to do, it's just what happened, because in searching for yourself, that's what we do. But when essence outweighs personality, that can be a problem. So in stripping away at my personality, I realized that I became much more boring and my sense of humor started to dissipate. And part of the reason was I wasn't connecting people in the same way that I had before. So this cynical side of me had disappeared, and I wasn't connecting with other people who had a cynical side. And these, I wasn't connecting with people who weren't being their true selves. And one thing I was looking at is, I'm an artist, and artists are always trying to find their true essence. But philosophy, art, culture, these things are all part of personality. So there's this dichotomy. The artist is searching for this thing, and then it has personality kind of coming at it from the other side. And that creates a dichotomy. Dichotomies make us crazy.
Well, you know, we've touched on essence and personality on a personal level very briefly. I would like to look at this more on a community level, because I think it's, you know, there's an entry point for you all watching. Alice and I both were residents of San Francisco for more than 25 years. So it's a good place to discuss community. When I first entered San Francisco, I remember just noting that when I crossed into San Francisco via the Golden Gate Bridge, I felt like I was entering the land of Oz, enchanting. And when I entered San Francisco via the Bay Bridge, I felt like I was entering Gotham City. It was broody and heavy and dark, and it was a wonderful balance. And there's probably many of you who will remember that San Francisco. But the scales tipped, and we've all felt it, and it's been discussed up and down. And this truly is about personality and essence. During that time, the creatives / artists brought their essence through their work. And I think this is really important to discuss. It's not through who they think they are, which is image. And image is personality. But the essence was rich and alive at that time. And then the scales tipped and the personality entered. Of course, we had the industries that created the infrastructure for us, then banking, etc., which was more in the brain and more personality. It wasn't driven by internal essence. It's usually outside of them, outside validation, outside everything. And that's when the scales tipped.
Mm-hmm. And the tech industry was like another gold rush coming into San Francisco, and a lot of people came along with that gold rush just to cash in. They didn't really care about the place as much as what it could offer. And a lot of the people who came in that gold rush are people in their 20s and 30s, and people in their 20s and 30s are trying to build their personality. And along with that, a lot of people ended up having to leave the city because the people who were connecting to the balance of essence and personality were pushed out because it wasn't valued. And it kind of created this culture where image was valued.
Yeah. So, we touched on a little bit of the personal level, a little community, and I'd like to look at this on the broader spectrum now and look at this more globally. During this pandemic, what's sustaining us right now? It's laborers, essential workers. And these are the people who go unnoticed most of the time, and it's usually because many are perceived as lacking higher education. And with higher education comes personality, a cultured person. And it's unfortunate, but now everyone's having to reel in and discover more of their essence. The mystic and philosopher Gurdjieff put this really well. He said that people who live in nature and who have had struggle and hardship are operating from essence. And these are people who we would consider lacking culture, higher education, and knowledge. And that's where we're at right now. Did you ever notice that people who live in developing countries have a happiness index that's beyond any comprehension?
Yeah, I know. How do they do it? How do they do it? How do they have all this stuff, and how do they do it?
Yeah, it's quite simply simple.
Exactly. But right now, a lot of people are stuck at home and they're thinking about what's important to them. They're reevaluating their lives. I have had so many friends who are making these huge life changes during this pandemic because they're realizing that the things they thought were important to them are not. And they're getting back in touch with their essence. And Lisa and I want to have you, for your homework assignment, ask yourself how you show up in different situations. Are you operating from essence? Are you operating from personality? Is there one you can build on and one you can let go of? If you're interested in finding out more about essence and personality, look up Gurdjieff on YouTube. You spell Gurdjieff, Gurdjiff. And in our future programming on Pivot Workshops, we will be offering ways to help you decode your personality and get back to essence. Anything else, Lisa?
No, that's all. Be well.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.